Remind me, I believe I now have found.
Students, please make your way into the auditorium. We will get started here momentarily. Come on in and find a seat. We want to get started within the next minute. Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started. So, students, staff, thank you for your attention real quick. We are going to introduce our next distinguished alumni representative. They were inducted here in the spring of last year, and so now this year we are going to do our formal ceremonies with them. So you can get more information about them in the back hallway. But it is my pleasure to introduce our distinguished alumni representative, Dr. Rolf Luloff. Rolf graduated from the University of Wisconsin School of Medicine in 1967. He completed his internship at the Utah Medical Center in 1968 and his residency at the Wisconsin Medical Center in Madison, Wisconsin in 1972. In 1974, he joined Westside Clinic in Green Bay, Wisconsin as an orthopedic surgeon, which later became known as Priva Health in 1995. Rolf continued practicing at Priva Health and St. Mary's Hospital Medical Center until 2017 when he retired. After his retirement, he co-founded the Brain Center of Green Bay and became their lead volunteer coach, helping clients and their care patients and partners navigating through their diagnosis of Parkinson's disease. In 2023, Rolf published Living and Loving with Parkinson's Disease, our partnership through a 45-year journey. Please help me in re-welcoming Dr. Rolf Luloff.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me in the back okay? Okay, if you can't, wave your hands because sometimes I get distracted in what I'm saying. It's indeed a great pleasure to be here. I'll try to go through what my connections with Dodgeville are, but what I've learned in my life based on the foundations that all started in Dodgeville and in Dodgeville school system, in Dodgeville High School, and in the connections that we maintained with Dodgeville. I've got all sorts of notes, and I get distracted by looking at my notes, so I'm going to try to wing it a little bit with you. I also admit that I'm a bit nervous. I give lots of talks to people, groups of 200 and 300, and I don't get nervous, but I'm nervous being here. So it's great. I was born and raised in Dodgeville, born in 1942. My parents were Harold and Jane Luloff. They had the funeral home and furniture store, eventually just the funeral home. I had one older brother, Kim. Kim was 8 years older than I was. He graduated from Dodgeville High School in 1952. I was old enough by that time to really appreciate my brother and his expertise. He was a good student, but he was a great athlete. He played on the starting five on the basketball team under Coach John Weedy Wilson. They won the conference championship. they got to the sectional finals for the state tournament. Back then, there was only one class that got beat in overtime at Toma by the Toma team. And the Toma team went on to lose in an overtime to South Milwaukee, who won the tournament. So this was a darn good group of guys. And you'll relate to at least one of the last names, Mike Krubaugh, who had the bakery for many, many, many years, was on that starting team. They also won the conference football championship. And my brother Kim is in the Sports Hall of Fame here because of his primarily, well, all the things he did athletically, but his track abilities. He won the conference 400 meters, 440 at that time, and won the conference high jump and went to the state tournament in both. He became an orthopedic surgeon, so he sort of led my way. Although I was going to be a doctor from the time I was in first grade, he didn't decide until he was in college to go into medical school. I was very blessed to have him. So, class of 1960, we had 62 students. We had great teachers. 3 stood out. One was Gert Johnson. She was the math teacher. She was guaranteed she was going to make sure that we all handled college math without difficulty. Ted Brito was the science teacher, freshman science, junior chemistry, senior physics. He was a character. His mission was to make sure that if we were going to go to college, we could handle all of the chemistry and the physics. As he handed out the physics exam, he smirked and smiled, and he said, there were, I think, 11 students, seniors, 8 boys and 3 girls. He said, we're going to see who gets the A on this exam. He stimulated us, and he only would give 1 A out on the exam. I happened to get it. But he also, at that same talk, said, you guys think you're smart. He says, we've got a freshman that knows all this stuff already. John Rowe, R-O-W-E, and John is on the Hall of Fame here. Got the same award that I'm getting today. He was outstanding student, outstanding human being, and went on to do amazing things at UW-Madison and then in the energy businesses in Chicago and all around. Dodgeville does a good job of preparing us. Be proud of where you are and be excited about the opportunities that we get from Dodgeville. Not only is school important because of what we learn, but it's because of the relationships that we form. And I was blessed. We had a class of 62. We got to know virtually everybody. But we had our close friends, Jim Flora and Jim Blotz, both went to UW-Madison. Jim Flora became an outstanding high school teacher at New Holstein, nationally recognized on sociology and economics and his teaching programs. Jim Blotz, similar classmate to me, with me, wonderful guy, loved engineering, became civil engineer at UW-Madison and ended up being second in command at the Madison Water Department throughout his entire career. That group, and we had 2 girls that went to Madison, Becky Anderson and Kate Robinson. They were both good friends. Ultimately, we became sort of a family. Ultimately, 19 of us, because of people that we married and people that we met in college. And we continue to meet at least annually together, friends, comparing notes. these people that we meet teach us, they make us better, and we have the opportunity to make them better. So these relationships that you all have the opportunities to experience here are so important. And Dodgeville was so important. The people that I met, they all were concerned. They were all part of our family, even though I had wonderful parents. I got to know the parents of all the kids too, and I got to know all the business people. It was special. We all have the opportunities in what our life pathways are to find things that really appeal to us. Find things that you're passionate about. To me, it was to be passionate about health, to be passionate about exercise. And while we're talking about exercise and the connection of Dodgeville and me, I live in Green Bay. I've had two girls that ran cross country. We competed against your Dodge Point outstanding cross country team. I cheered you guys as you won your state championship in our division. Our boys at Notre Dame Academy in Green Bay won the boys last year, and I was one of the assistant coaches. No, did I do coaching? No, I was a cheerleader, but I was so proud to watch these kids. And every time that we went to that state tournament in Wisconsin Rapids, I always walked over to the Dodge Point tent and talked to the coaches and wished them well. Your two twin girls are outstanding, but all of your team are wonderful. These connections are so important. And that brings me to the most important connection of my life. I'm going into medical school after 3 years of undergraduate training. I've got a research job in a lab, summer of 1963. And in walks this cute young lady who had just graduated from UW with a degree in medical technology. She had to do an internship that summer at university hospitals. She needed to raise a little extra money, so she started, got a job in the lab that I was doing research in. Every day at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, she'd come in to clean up the messes that the other medical student and I would make. I found out day one that she had a steady boyfriend. 5 weeks later, I walked in the morning to go to start my lab work, and the other medical student said, "Rolf, are you dating anybody?" And I said, "No." And he said, "You should ask Anna." I said, "No, she's got a steady boyfriend." And he said, "No, they broke up last week." I got nothing done that day in the lab, and could hardly wait until 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock, she walks in with Bermuda shorts and a white blouse that wasn't tucked in. Do I notice those things usually? No. And I said, "Hi, Ann. Hi, Rolf. How are you? Fine. And you fine? How would you like to go out and have a couple of beers tonight?" She gives me this dirty look. I think both she and I were thinking, who told you that I broke up with my boyfriend? With that, the angry look changed to a smile on her face. And she said, "I'd like that." We walked down to the pub, had 3 beers each that night, walked back. I had the most memorable embrace and kiss on her front stairway. We were married 51 weeks later. That marriage went on. That marriage went on for 56 and a half years. It was wonderful. She was amazing. Our union of love carried us through all of my years at medical school, my 4 years of orthopedic surgery residency. We carried through. We had 3 children in Madison. We spent 2 years at the U.S. Army. I was proud to serve as an orthopedic surgeon at Fort Dix, New Jersey. If I'd have come out of my training 1 year earlier, there's no doubt I would have been sent to Vietnam. Ann would not have been happy. I would not have been thrilled, but we would have said, yes, we want to support our country. I'm proud to be a veteran and proud of all the people I met in the service. We had other orthopedic surgeons there. We got along well. We had a great part of our existence together. We moved to Green Bay. The practice opportunity was ideal. And for the first 2.5 years, things are going smoothly. And then Annie lost her sense of smell. We saw good doctors. They couldn't find any cause. They said it had to be neurologic. For the next 13 years, she developed panic attacks. She developed depression. She was an outstanding tennis player. There's no way I could even get close to her on the tennis court. And then she started to stumble on the tennis court. And at age 49, under stress, because all of a sudden we had an empty nest. Our 3 kids were all away to college. And she said, what's going on with me? I don't feel right. And she started to show the motor symptoms of Parkinson's disease. We saw our doctor on New Year's Eve, late afternoon, December 31st, 1989, the last year of the decade of the 1980s. I call it the decade of the undiagnosis. We didn't know what was going on, but there was something wrong. All of a sudden, we knew. Her doctor told her she had Parkinson's, explained that there was no cure for it, but there were a lot of things could help her and control the symptoms. Most of all, family, friends, and doing things like that. We got out in the car and Annie melted down. She cried. I cried. We hugged. And she said, quote, my life is over. I'll never get to see our kids get married. I'll never get to know grandchildren. I can't play tennis any longer. My life is over. That hit me hard. I hugged her. And I said, Annie, you don't have to worry. I'm always going to be with you. We're always going to be in our own home together. We're going to fight this disease. The enemy is the disease. It's not your fault. It's not my fault. We've got wonderful kids. They're going to be here for us. We've got wonderful friends. They're going to be with us. We are going to fight this disease. For the next 31 years, we were in our own home until she slept away peacefully at age 80 and a half. She didn't suffer. Her brain just wore out because of the darn Parkinson's disease. What is Parkinson's disease? It's a degeneration in the brain caused by probably exposure to Roundup and all sorts of toxins, somewhat genetic perhaps. Her mother had Parkinson's, her brother had Parkinson's. Genetic testing didn't show anything, but it certainly was a factor. At any rate, we carried on. We had a high quality of life. And I told Annie that night in the car, I said, I know you so well. I know how tough you are. You will fight this disease. I will fight it with you, and God will be with us, and we will make a difference. In the next 31 years, we went to Europe 12 times. We got a condominium in Florida. I still worked part-time worked full-time until I was 75. But we had a wonderful marriage supporting each other. And when she needed more help, we got somebody to come in when I wasn't there. And did we make a difference? Yeah, we did. When she was age 70 that year, she fell 3 times. The first time she fell and broke 3 ribs. The second time she fell on the driveway, hit her head, unconscious for 10 minutes with a skull fracture and a bleed in her brain. The next day, they repeated the scan on her brain, and there was no further bleeding. She was alert. We went home. 3 months later, she fell and broke her hip. When that happened, I said, you're not going to fall again. We're going to make a difference. What did we do? We took control of her activity level. We made sure that she didn't fall, but we kept her living. We kept doing things. We would go out and walk. I would stand by her. When she used a walker, she looked like somebody that had Parkinson's disease. How did she walk? I said, we're going to get rid of the walker. All the walker does is make you lean forward and shuffle. Your brain has learned to shuffle. That's what Parkinson's does. We're not going to allow your brain to do that. We're going to train your brain to walk normally. And indeed, so I would stand next to her, lift up on her left arm. The first time I did that, she said, "You don't have to hold me." And I said, "I'm not holding you. I am your insurance policy to make sure you don't fall. Because if you fall, it could be catastrophe." So, big steps. 1, 2, 3, go. Stop. You can't shuffle. In 1 month, we're going 90 feet to the kitchen table, nonstop, without shuffling. In 3 months, we're walking a quarter mile around our block. No walker, with me holding loosely onto her. Neighborhood kids say, "Here comes Grandma Annie." "You're looking good, Grandma." 10 years, no falls. We can all make a difference with the challenges that we face in life. It might not be Parkinson's. It may be an emotional challenge. It may be a medical challenge. It may be an occupational challenge. Make these things not problems, but make them challenges. And we can usually make a difference. And we can make a difference for ourselves, but we can make a difference for others. That's why we formed our Brain Center. How much time does it take a doctor to sit down with somebody new with Parkinson's disease and get to know them? A lot more than a half hour. In a half hour, somebody newly diagnosed comes out sometimes more confused than understanding. I'll sit down and coach somebody. We don't charge. We've got wonderful benefactors who support what we do. And we've got therapists. We'll sit down with people and help them navigate their journey. I'll spend an hour and a half with somebody and their family or their mate, their care partner. We've been doing that now for ever since COVID ended, but we tried to get into that even before COVID hit. That's one of our nonprofits. We can make a difference in our lives. We all have opportunities to make a difference. How do you make a difference? Our brains need to be trained. Our brains are automatic. Most of what we do are automatic. Our brains control our blood pressure. They control our breathing. You don't have to think. Take another breath. We just breathe. But we have a choice of making decisions. And those decisions are the things that we can do to make our brains better. Yes, you need a healthy heart. Let's make our hearts healthy. You need to have a healthy liver. We need to make it healthy. If we have sugar metabolic problems with diabetes or insulin resistance, we can make a difference by how we eat. My dad became insulin-dependent diabetic when he was 74. His mother, my wonderful German grandmother, became diabetic when she was 85. She lived to be 96. My dad died of liver failure, not because he was an alcoholic, because he wasn't. He died of liver failure because his diabetes that he got when he was 74 filled his liver with fat. And that caused fatty liver, which was associated with insulin resistance, but also caused cirrhosis in his liver, and he died of liver failure. We can make a difference. Why is that important? 30% of the adults on this earth have fatty liver disease. If they don't take care of it and get their weight down and keep active, the odds are they will end up with cirrhosis. And if they have end-stage cirrhosis, the only treatment is either a liver transplant or a funeral director. We need to prevent. We need to help our earth, help our individual health. We need to know ourselves. We are all different. So if you have a family history of diabetes or insulin resistance, tackle it early and make a difference. You don't have to starve. What you have to do is know what to do. Sit down with your doctors, with your the medical teams that you have access to, so that you know yourself and you know your family and you can make a difference. We can make a difference in everything. One of the great things about, for me, running is that made a difference for me. My dad died of liver failure. I'm insulin resistant. I was told that when I was 74, the same age that he was when he was told he was diabetic. My doctor said, yes, you are pre-diabetic. I lost 12 pounds from 162 to 150. And I continued to run. I've run the Boston Marathon 4 times. I love running. That's why I love to see people out and active. Running isn't for everybody, but being physically active is. Move, move, move. Start moving now if you don't, and keep moving. And do the other things that are healthy for you. Healthy diets, healthy nutrition. So physical exercise is one of the 6 key categories that we need to live with. The second category, healthy nutrition. Cut out the simple sugars. Give me a potato chip and I'll eat the entire bag. It's an addiction. My wonderful cousin and his wife took me out to the popcorn store. The popcorn is just as addicting to me. So I only got 1 bag. Do I cheat? You bet I do. But what else do? I get my exercise. Balance your exercise. So I said we have 6 categories. First category, physically be active. Second category, healthy nutrition. Third category, stimulate your brain. What you're doing by listening to me and hopefully understanding and taking use of this, stimulates your brain and not to makes your brain work better. I'm much sharper the next day if I've had exercise, and when I wake up in the morning, I pray to Annie and talk to her, but I also do my exercises. I wake up my body, which wakes up my brain, which wakes up my mind, which wakes up my spiritual soul. Didn't used to pray at night out loud when I went to bed. I always prayed quietly. Annie and I had a bad day. About 2.5 years before she passed away, slept away peacefully. And we got to bed and I snuggled up to her and I said, I love you, Annie. And she said, I love you too, honey. I said, it's been a crappy day, hasn't it? She said, it sure has. I said, tomorrow we're going to make it better. And from now on, we're going to continue to make it better. I had never prayed out loud. At that point, I said, Our Father who art in, and at that point on the Lord's Prayer, Annie joined me. And we said the Lord's Prayer. We got done. I said, God, you have so eminently blessed Annie and me. You've given us life on this wonderful earth. You've given us wonderful parents, family, and friends. Most of all, you've given us each other. You brought us together, and you've been there for us. We had a crappy day today. Annie and I vow that we're not going to have any more crappy days. We're going to turn this all around. Did we eliminate her Parkinson's disease? No. Did we have a crappy day thereafter? No. We learned, we hugged, we loved, we laughed. We put Neil Diamond on and pranced to the music. We watched wonderful sporting events and other things. COVID hit, that got in the way of our socialization, and that hurt. But by this time, her brain is failing. because of the abnormal proteins in her brain, that who knows what caused it, with probably Roundup and other things. But we did well with it. We fought it. We made a difference. The challenge to all of us is we're all different. We all have to understand ourselves, and we have the opportunities to make a difference for us and for those around us. When you see a neighbor that needs help, a classmate that needs help, give them a smile, give them a little bit of a hug, give them a high five, and help them. We all need those times. People have given me wonderful help throughout my life. Started in Dodgeville, continued on. And it's an honor to be able to share our experiences because, granted, the world is in turmoil. There's no doubt about that. If everybody on this earth lived with love and understanding, we would have no wars. Okay. Sometimes, if somebody is unmanageable, we have to take action. There are nations that are unmanageable. Are we perfect in this country? No. Do we have a choice to try to make it better? You bet. So it's an honor to be here, and I don't know how much time we have for questions. Ryan, you tell me when to shut up. So are there any questions?
Give a round of applause for that. Students, if you have questions, you are welcome to stay here briefly, but we are going to dismiss you to your second period class. Thank you all.